Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this will be our chart lesson for today is Wednesday, October the 14th, and we had we had a two-tiered. This is a larger pattern, down sloping channel here. It didn't help you a whole lot. You were better off following these shorter term trend channels and trend lines, and also notice how prices are continually swinging. We had a pretty good trend down right here, and then we had a pretty good trend back up. But we were consistently, well, actually, we had a pretty good trend back down here as well. But early on, we're swinging a lot. We're swinging back. Down, up here, we're swinging back and forth across the EMA. Right across here, we're swinging back and forth across the EMA. Very similar here. And the same thing down here. So we kind of traded up and down into these smaller trading ranges. So you had to be aware of that, and that would have helped you considerably. At least, in my opinion, I think it would help you considerably because then you kind of know, to buy the lows and sell the highs. So, but let's back out where we can see it a little better, and we'll go through the trades. It's pretty late. It's already 7:30. I had to step out today, and I'm just now getting a chance to come back and do the chart lesson. But early on, even though this looks very rangy, we're trending up. Notice we're making higher highs and higher lows. Even though it's kind of a weak trend, we're still trending up. And you've got a clear two-tiered channel there. Um, we got a break of it right here and then a reversal. And notice there's a first entry, pull back, and second entry. And that's pretty much two measured legs down. And that's a nice bullish reversal type bar. Just go long right there on that second entry, hoping that we'll make a new test of a new high. It was a quick, easy trade, but then it kind of pulls back again and it tests this area right across here again. And notice how we got a little trap here. You don't want to go long there, but when it turned down there and failed and turned back up, just go long on a buy stop, one tick above that bar and look at it go. They trap people short here. And you can see how flat it is. So you definitely can't go short into that. So you just kind of got to sit there and see if you get something to the upside and you get a nice trap. And it takes off. It does pull back here, but it's so close to that double top, and that's a one bar trading range, and the next bar didn't really go anywhere either. So I didn't like entering there. And then we got a new high here. The only reason I liked entering on this one is that this is a double bottom, so it can count as a new low there, and it is a new swing low regardless because it's lower than that one. And so there's a first entry short and then a second entry short, and it bounced right off the trend line in the EMA, and there's plenty of room. So I figured we'd test that high again. And if you got to looking, there's a smaller uh, second entry long there as well. So I like that one. It's really tempting to go short here. And I'll be honest, if that bar, when it went out the top, turned and went out the bottom all in one bar, I'd probably say go short right there. But because it didn't, you're better off to wait and make sure you get the reversal. And it does move down and pull back and confirms the trend line, tests the EMA, and you get a failed second entry long there. And that's a real fairly bearish bar. It didn't close right on the very below. Yours might have, but that's a good setup. And you don't know that it's going to take off like that, but you figure we're headed lower. And we've got a trend line working down, and man, this thing just takes off. That's the trade of the day. If you can just catch one trade a day like that, like this one or this one, and catch a runner, you can do pretty good on just a single trade or two. If you're just scalping out, you're probably going to need two or three of them. But anyway, that moves down, and then somebody actually I meant to make that one green right there. Somebody asked me about that trade. Um, they had a really bearish bar there, but notice this is a two-legged pullback. Even though it makes a little bit lower low there, you can still look at that like a two-legged pullback to the EMA. It's the first break of this real steep trend line. There's really already a double top, like a triple top there. And that's a fair, even though it's a neutral looking bar, it closes almost on its very low. So it's more bearish. It's kind of bearish neutral. And there's plenty of room to get out. And you figure we're going to probably test these lows and off it goes, and you get another nice move down. And you could have caught runners on either one of those, including that one there as well. I don't think you want to enter there. It's a little breakout pullback short, but we've already had a break and a new low, and there's some support right across there. So I don't think you can go short right there. I think you just kind of wait it out and see if we don't get a reversal. And guess what? You get a little double bottom, and then you get a second entry short that fails right there. There's no short setup. And then when that reverses, you want to go long there. That's a double bottom pullback as well, but it's a failed second entry short. It's our reversal pattern that we look for. And off it goes. Unfortunately, it didn't take off. I mean, it was a quick, easy scalp, but you didn't get anything more than that. Then it runs down, and it makes one more push for a new low. And notice you kind of had that double bottom, and then you had another matching low there, so it's kind of a triple bottom. So that's kind of a failed break lower, and it looks like it's looking like a trading range. You know, you're swinging back and forth here. You're pretty good bit away from the EMA. You figure it's going to come back there when it breaks it lower and fails, and that's a fairly bullish bar. It did go lower and then go out the top all in the same bar, so I think it's a little bit aggressive because you're trying to pick bottoms, and generally you're better off to wait on the second entry, which comes here. And notice we got back inside the support. It closes in it, and it closes on its high, fairly bullish bar. Just go long right there. And then we come back up here, we test the high of the range again, and notice that double top across there, and that was the support earlier, so now it's acting as resistance, and you get that inside fairly bearish bar. What I'd want to do here, if it would have broke higher and then turned down, just go short on the stop. But what you'd probably want to do here is let this break and then drop a limit order in there, and it would have pulled back and filled you a tick or so. And a quick, easy scalp, and you don't get any more. When it doesn't go any lower there, that's too bullish to enter below, and then by the time this one ends, it's too big. So you just kind of got to ride that one out, but then it bounces right off the low again. It makes another little higher. Notice how you got that low, this low's higher, and that's a higher low. It's bouncing off that support. It's a bullish bar. It's a second entry long. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It's basically two measured legs down. There's a lot of reasons to think going long right there. And a lot of times you can catch these, and these are the ones that take off. It was tempting to want to enter on the next bar, but it never broke lower, and it just kind of ended up being an inside bar, and so it's starting to stack up. I don't think you want to enter there. I think you got to skip that one. There's a breakout pullback long here, but it's not a very strong one. It is a failed second entry short, and it does kind of set the trend line there. Drew it off the top and pulled it down, and originally I had it a little bit tighter, and it probably still works there just as well, pulling in a little tighter. But either way, this one's a little bit aggressive, but then you get the failed second entry short there, and it does bounce off that midline if you saw the bigger channel, and you had to find it from the lower side and pull it up, and then when you looked for the midline, it fit real nicely in there. So if you saw that, and it's a failed second entry short. It probably traps some people trying to get short, thinking, hey, we've moved too far, but it confirms that trend line as well. And that turns out to be another good move. And it just really takes off. And then we start trending down. You couldn't find this bigger one till really you got a little more price action. So early on I was playing this one, and you're moving down. You get a break here, but that's too big a bar, and there's not enough room to scalp out before those lows. So you really got to kind of skip it. And it's tempting to go long right there, but again, I think you got to wait, and then it just kind of gets hung up, and you never really get a setup. You kind of get into a trading range here, and you get a failed break higher here, and it turns down. And so I like that one. It's basically two legs up as well. One move up, and there's a little two move correction, then the next leg up, and it's pretty much a measured move. But the main thing is it's a failed break higher. So I drew my trend line off that as well. Originally I had it right across here, but when we shot on through, you got to assume, hey, maybe there's something lower, and it does. It turns out it's lower, and there's probably a midline right there too. So let me put it on there. On these bigger ones, there's almost always a midline. I don't always put them on there because I can see it, but until you get really, really train your eye to see this stuff, always put your lines on there. And I'll put them on there a lot of times anyway, even myself. But I don't always need them because I've trained my eye to see it. But a lot of people, I always recommend you put them on there because you'd be surprised how it clears the chart up, especially if you're not used to seeing it. But anyway, that was another nice move down. All you're looking for is for it to come to here and hopefully you get a scalp. But man, this thing just takes off. So there was 2 or 3 trades today that just really took off, especially to the downside. We couldn't even pull back to retest that, and that was where I would have been looking to get short if we could pull back to that trend line or there. We do pull back to the trend line right here, but it's after 2 o'clock, and I just don't see anything in here that interests me getting right into that 2 o'clock hour. Another trader sent me his chart, and he tried to get long here, and he used a limit order, and it came back and bounced off of it a couple of times, but he never could get it filled. And this, you might have considered getting long right there, because we do have an overshoot here most likely. Even if you bring that lower, just play with it just a minute. Yeah, maybe that's a little lower, so maybe you don't have an overshoot. I don't think that's enough to really make you want to take that. You're a good bit away from that EMA, and there is a little trap there. So, if you want to be real aggressive, if you saw this trend line and this 2-tiered channel, then I would be okay with you going long on any of those 3. This one, not because it's into the 2 o'clock hour, but either of those 2, if you want to be real aggressive, I'm okay with those. Because a lot of times you catch those down there, and that's where it takes off like this and never looks back. And it's great to catch one of those and just ride it out into the close. But that's getting a little aggressive, so I am going to mark that green. And you could have entered on either one of those. I'll just put 2 of them there because you really could have entered. If you're being aggressive, you really could have entered either one of them. But anyway, that got you into the 2 o'clock hour, and it just went flat after that. It went into another trading range. So just not much happening today. I mean, there's some pretty good moves, but in the end, we didn't change down that much. We closed at 1984.50, and yesterday we closed at, we're down about 8 or 9 points probably, so close to 10 points. So we're down more than I thought we were. It didn't feel like we really were down that much, but I guess we were. But you can see the trades. I'll back out so you can see the big picture again. You can see the clear 2-tier channel working down. But the way to find this was to pull it off the lows and pull it up, and that would have helped you find that turn right there. And it actually, if you saw that, I'm going to go ahead and mark that one up there because look how far away that is from that EMA. If you were trading in and you saw that 2-tiered channel and it turned down right there with that big bearish bar that way far away from the EMA, I'm okay with you going short right there because you're way overdue to come back. And but you need to be able to, you can't just do that arbitrarily. You need to know that you saw that channel, and it's still aggressive because you got this channel working up and you get a break. You hadn't really had a close outside of it yet, so. But it's kind of a rangy day, so you get to go. You can usually trade both sides when it's like that, even if there's a trend, as long as it's not real strong. So, but that's about it for today. Since it's late, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not going to try to. There's not much else we really can talk about other than I will say this. Just remember that you've always got your bigger picture, but then you got to, like here, you got a range within a bigger 2-tiered channel. Here you got a smaller range within a smaller 2-tiered channel within a bigger 2-tiered channel. And in the big picture, you might even call this a range day as well. The highs across here and the lows across down in here somewhere. So just remember that. And that's why price action works on every level, because you could go to a daily chart and see some of these same moves and some second entries in here and some other setups that put you in the same spot. And you could go to smaller charts and hear me talk about seeing these little second entries like this one on a smaller chart. It's not, you don't see it on this chart, but you got to learn to see it all on one chart. You don't need to look at, I've trained my eye to see that. I don't have to glance back at the smaller chart. I know it's there. So I hope that makes sense. But I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.